Oh, hey, have you heard of Takumitak? If you like usable, great fixed blades, you really should. Since Takumitak is pretty much a new company to my channel, I wanted to give you a little bit of background on them because I got to tell you, it's actually a pretty interesting story. It's an American company basically learning from others. They attended trade shows, conventions, and conferences from local custom shows, shot shows, blade shows, and they watched full combat fighting at Comic-Con. They looked at custom and production knives spanning the full range of human capability and material limits. So basically what they did was they took all the knowledge they acquired, they accrued between the 10 years of doing the research, and they decided, you know what, we want to get into this. We want to get into making knives that are going to be perfect. They're developing knives that are CNC machined with also some human influence in order to finish them off. The heat treatments are going to be off. The toughness and the hardness is going to be balanced out. They're making some pretty much short of perfect looking knives, and their designs are all completely American made designs. Everything is to the spec, the type of knife that you would want to have in your hand in a survival situation, in a bushcrafting situation, in a self-defense situation. And I gotta tell you, they're pretty damn sharp looking knives. They say that their focus is the end user and a wide range of requirements people have for their knives that they own. Whether you need a knife for single task or a knife to handle any task that you may or may not encounter, which is pretty much the solution knife that I'm going to be showing you, they're hoping to design a knife that suits all of your needs. And they know that they're learning, and they know they're a new company, so they know that if they don't succeed, they will definitely try again in the future over and over again until they get it right. But I gotta tell you, from what I've seen so far, from the solution knife, which is only really the first knife I've gotten from Takumitak, it looks like a really damn good knife. This knife definitely got me interested, and I'm really curious to see in hand how the rest of their knives perform. They're definitely different looking. They're definitely really nice looking designs, and I've seen them on other channels. The knives really work. What I'm looking forward to seeing is the consistency of the performance across all of their knives. That's what interests me the most. It's definitely a different type of design. It's straight. It's a straight, completely straight blade with the tang. It's all one piece for, it looks like, you know, as far as the tang and then the G10 kind of put over it. So I kind of thought, I didn't know what to think when I saw it, but when I seen it, and just as a disclosure, this knife came to me from Donnie B all day. So this knife is actually secondhand in terms of doing the review. So it did get used already. So keep that in mind when I do the demonstrations on this knife, that this knife already has been used and run through the mill through Donnie's hands in terms of all his demonstrations that he did already. It's a good way to actually also check out the edge retention of it. There's just something about Kydex and what you can do with Kydex and the locking mechanism, and this is also pressure fit in terms of the click, how it clicks into place, how durable it is, the waterproofness of it, the drainage of it, and the fact that you can call this more of a tactical knife being in Kydex. And also it's MOLLE compatible, and you have this quick release here. Yeah, you kind of lift that up, squeeze that, and it kind of goes up. Now you could use a scout carry or vertical or horizontal carry, right or left. It's so much versatility in terms of this type of quick release that you can basically customize it in the type of carry that you want, and you don't have to take your whole belt off. You kind of just put your belt through, lock into place, and you are good to go. And I'm a big fan of this tech. I think it's called a tech lock, actually. But if you look at the knife, and I think one of the reasons why Donnie really wanted me to check this out is the fact that it is a tanto type of blade. This kind of looks like a miniature ninjato in terms of how it's just a completely straight blade all the way to the handle. It really looks like a miniature ninjato with this tanto blade. Now, the Tanto blade, some might say that this is actually an American Tanto type of look, and some might actually even say that Cold Steel invented this Tanto type of look. So I would say that this is more of an American Tanto, but it is similar to like a modern style Ninjato type of knife. It is an absolutely beautiful blade. I love the grinds. I love the reinforcement. I love the serrated edges right over here. I mean, this thing is pretty much like a handsaw, and that's why this is more of a versatile all utility type of knife that you can basically survive on this thing, and I'm going to try to test that out for you as well. This is an aggressively feeling serrated edges. They look like boat edges, and which means that it's going to give you the best possible usage in terms of getting through the wood and making it really like a handsaw on your knife, with also having the straight edge here. So there's so much versatility here. The handle is great. If there's anything I would change in terms of a con, I would probably shape out this tang a little bit to make it a little bit more friendly in terms of basically your usage here. But I gotta tell you, it's really not a big problem. That would be the only thing I would change, is to kind of shape this out. But if you look at basically how this is all put together, how the lines and the grips actually continue onto the tang is absolutely beautiful. There's jimping right over here and gentle jimping here, okay, before it gets into the aggressive serrated edges right here. You guys see that reinforced Tanto tip, which is very strong. This will definitely be a good piercer or stabber. Definitely penetrate really well. We'll test that out as well. And then you have your mercy end. You have a big lanyard space, not even just a hole. It's a lanyard opening here that you can put whatever you want in terms of a lanyard here. But this also can act as a mercy guard. Okay, basically, if you don't want to use the sharp edge, you can use this end, okay, for some self-defense. Okay, and this will definitely do some damage and definitely be a good deterrent if you need it. So you may or may not be wondering where the name Takumitak came from. Takumitak is a variation of a Japanese term called takumi, and that is translated in English to a master craftsman or an artisan who has developed his skills through many years or decades of experience. All right, so let's get into some specs. All right, so the knife type, obviously it's a fixed blade. It is completely solid full tang, absolutely solid full tang. The overall length of the knife is about 12.25 inches. The blade length is a really nice and healthy 5.75 inches. Definitely covers a lot of ground with that blade. The handle length is a very, very generous 6.5 inches, and there's not a hand on the planet that is not going to feel comfortable in that hand. And you'll see while I'm doing some testing how the length of that handle came into play when I was chopping. The knife weight is around 11.6 ounces. The blade shape is a very beautiful Tanto shape. The blade material is D2, some of my favorite steels in the world. The blade HRC is between 61 and 62. The blade thickness is about 4.71 millimeters to about 4.93 millimeters, depending on where you're looking at the blade. Really beautiful grinds. A blade grind is completely flat. It's a plain edge, plain finish with a titanium nitride, which also handled itself really well. It didn't really come off at all when I was doing all the cutting. The handle material is a machined G10. The sheath material is Kydex, and the sheath type is a pressure retention. The penetration of this knife and the way it's configured in terms of that straight edge with that Tanto has got to be insane. First, let's do some gravity drops to see how the balance is. I can't imagine the balance not being really, really good on this knife. It falls into place really well. Perfect. Definitely a good penetrator. Fantastic. This also lets me see how comfortable this stays in the hand while it's penetrating. Yeah, but this thing, it's definitely a lot of fun to kind of stab. There is a little bit of discomfort basically with this tang here. Like I said, if this was shaped out a little bit, but it's not a really, really big problem. And I got to tell you, if you just want to wear gloves outside, it's going to correct it really well. But it's not anything, it's not really a hot spot. It's just the design of the knife. But if I had to change anything, I would probably change, shaping out that tang a little bit so it's a little bit more comfort in terms of not having your hand on the steel and having it more along the G10. But I think also having this G10 not shaped out and having it straight improves with the solidity of this knife and how solid construction this thing is. All right, so this is a steel reinforced rubber tire, or at least what's left of it. Definitely goes through this no problem. And this is really thick piece of rubber here too. Does a pretty good job. Yeah, you can definitely get through it. Again, keep in mind is the fact that this has also been used for the second time, but it goes through that steel reinforced tire pretty damn well. All right, this is an old sneaker, so if you ever get into a problem, basically somebody's trying to attack you, I think it's good to go after the foot because you will incapacitate them. But again, I want to show you, keeping the glove on, I think would completely correct any type of discomfort you have from the metal there, especially when you're doing these types of things. Yeah, kind of went right through all the way to the other side, so that's pretty good. Yeah, the penetration on this thing is pretty damn amazing, and I gotta tell you, that'll be pretty damn painful. Yep, definitely give somebody a bad foot ache. Pretty damn good, guys. Edge is still pretty good. I'm a big fan of D2, but listen, if you need to use this in a survival situation, you need to kindle some wood to make some small scrapings to make a fire and all that, you could definitely do it with this knife. It definitely feels solid in the hand and pretty manageable for the most part. And the edge really held up, okay, in terms of still being a pretty damn good slicer. And I know that this is not a testament to the knife because right out of the box, this is definitely razor sharp. So it kept the edge retention pretty well, and I still think it's cutting pretty well. And this is also after going through the steel reinforced tire. Pretty damn good. Now what I'm going to try to do is I want to try to use the serrated spine here. So I want to see if I can actually also make up a notch, okay? Start up a notch on the wood. So if you ever want to tie rope to it to kind of fasten it up, to tighten things up, to set up camp or whatever it is, I think you could definitely do it with this type of tool. And it's just great. I mean, this is kind of a tool now. It's a utility tool. It's a self-defense tool, but it's also a utility camping, outdoor survival type of thing going on. So I definitely want to see how this works if I can make up a notch with my novice ability. You can see how that started off right there. So you could kind of finish it off right there, unless you want to make a double notch. You can kind of make a space here and then kind of grind it off with your blade. So I'm going to try to do that in a fast motion, of course. Double notch right there. And if you want, you can get the blade, kind of just finish it off right here. Use a saw again. And you can use your blade to kind of finish it up. So a professional could have done that a lot better. You can see how you can kind of wrap a rope around here, one on this side, one on this side. Use your saw, then you use your blade, your straight edge to kind of finish up the job. And yeah, set up a notch, set up camp. You could do it with the solution. Tie it up on this side, and then you could also tie it up on this side. And you got a great notch that you made up. Definitely usability is right there, and there's just prime proof of what you can do with a knife that has a really good saw, like a hand saw right on top of the knife. Definitely a lot of usability there. I'm just going to be cutting right through some various materials with this, and this is industrial ratchet strap. Okay, these are all industrial, well, not all of them. This is the sandblast hose. I'm going to go right into steel reinforced sandblast hose. This is some industrial strength ratchet strap and some paracord and some rope. I want to just basically see how much this edge retention is holding up after a complete second round of cutting. camp rope or paracord. Sharpness is still there. That's the ultimate test, guys. This is a sandblast hose, steel reinforced, very tough to cut for pretty much any knife. But let's see how much this holds up to see if it can cut. Ah, there it goes. Okay. This took a little bit of work in terms of the sandblast hose. You can see it's steel reinforced. I think that if this thing was sharp out of the box, it would get through it a little bit better. But this had a little bit of a problem. Well, not a problem, but it took a little bit longer, a little bit more time to get through this. Where I would think that if it was sharp out of the box, it would get through it a lot quicker. But this definitely did a great job, and it felt good in the hand. This tip of the Tanto really did a good job in terms of kind of penetrating and getting the point in there, so this way the edge could do all the work. But this is no joke, guys. This is a tough material, and it's tough material to cut. And if my eyes right now, if I would inspect the edge, it looks like there's no chips or damage to the edge. Where, you know, anything that's steel reinforced, it definitely could damage the edge, but it did pretty well, and it got through the steel belt hole. Not as quick as I would want it to be, but keep in mind, this is definitely secondhand use on this knife already, and it still went through it. It got the job done, and it did all the other cutting materials. Again, guys, this is not what this knife was built for. This is just a demonstration, not too aggressive, but more aggressive than normal, just to put some more pressure on this D2 edge to see if I can't get any damage on it whatsoever from doing this type of stuff. That so far. Smell a little light or not? In between there a little bit. You see that orangey feel? I smelled it as soon as I was cutting it. The good thing about this knife is, because of the length of the handle, you can definitely set all the way back and have a little bit more swing or strength into the cut to really kind of, you know, force it right into the wood and give it more pressure into the cut. Now, if I would have kept this going, this would have went right through, but not bad for a knife that's not really meant to be a hitter or a banger. It definitely did a pretty good job. And like I said, because of the length of the knife, you have a little more real estate to kind of hold it all the way back here and really get some more power into the swing or into the impact of the knife because of the length of the handle. That's why I got some really good cuts here. And if we inspect the edge, again, the edge looks pretty damn good. So it's a hitter, it's a cutter, it's a slicer, it's a serrated edge notch maker to set up camp, and it's a solid ass knife. And this is some hard firewood, guys, because I'm crazy like that. We're gonna do a little more batoning to put a little bit more pressure on the edge as well. Again, this is not a batoning knife, but if you need it, it can do it. Again, and again. Told you I was gonna beat the shit out of this thing. That's some really for that Home Depot firewood, really hard piece of wood, and really banging on this thing all over the place. Left a couple marks here and there on the G10, but the blade looks good. Nothing loosening on the screws. Handles itself pretty well. This is definitely a solid piece of steel here. It can handle a lot of shit, man, a lot of stuff. Takumitak solution, not freaking bad. It's not a bad knife, guys. I think this could be a knife for a lot of people, for a lot of things. It could definitely be a good self-defense knife. It could be a survival knife. It could be a knife that you want to take out camping. It has, and hence the name solution, because this definitely could be a solution for an all-in-one type of knife. And it's built well, has pretty good edge retention. I think after all of this now, after the sandblast holes, I think this definitely needs a good honing, and it's going to come right back to shape. A big fan of D2. I love it that they're using D2, taking the hardness level and the toughness level and coming to a good balance. What they're saying on their website is definitely true, because I can see that there's no edge damage or anything like that. This knife definitely handled itself extremely, extremely well. So very impressed with so far the solution from Takumitak. Looking forward to seeing some more of their knives and seeing if the consistency definitely follows up on this knife with all of the rest of the knives that they have in their lineup. So far, so good. I like what I'm seeing from the solution. So that's all I got. Thanks for watching, guys. Joe from JS Bladecraft. I'll see you in the next sword and knife review. Have a good one, guys. Peace.